Number 10. 2026 Volkswagen Golf GTI. The Golf GTI has never tried to overpower its rivals. It outthinks them. Volkswagen benchmark hot hatch sticks to a formula that values control and timing over shock and awe numbers. Power comes from a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder delivering 241 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque, sent to the front wheels through either a traditional 6-speed manual or the fast-shifting 6-speed DSG. Get the launch right, and the GTI consistently runs 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.6 seconds. But the stopwatch only tells part of the story. What makes the GTI feel quicker than the number suggests is how little energy it wastes. The electronically controlled front differential actively distributes torque across the axle, letting the car pull itself out of corners instead of fighting for grip. Steering response is immediate. The chassis stays flat under load, and mid-corner adjustments feel natural rather than forced. It's a hatchback that rewards clean inputs and momentum rather than brute throttle abuse. The interior leans modern and minimal, with sport seats, a fully digital gauge cluster, and configurable drive modes that sharpen throttle and steering response. It's quick enough to entertain, composed enough to trust, and priced within reach of real enthusiasts. Exactly why the GTI still matters. Starting MSRP, approximately $32,000. We're starting with precision, but the end of this list is a hatch that treats the track like home. It has a boost feature you trigger on command, a transmission feel through paddles, and a drift system with multiple levels. The reveal is worth the wait. Number 9. 2026 Toyota GR Corolla. This isn't a Corolla that got tuned. It's a Gazoo racing build with a mainstream nameplate attached. For 2026, Toyota keeps the turbo 1.6-liter 3-cylinder at 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet because the point was never big displacement. It's response, boost, and violence in a compact shell. And Toyota didn't just tweak the software. They literally tightened the car with 45.6 feet of additional structural adhesive to improve rigidity and rear grip. The reason it feels so alive is the GR4 all-wheel drive dial. You can set the car up for real surfaces, not just drive pavement, with drive modes like normal, track, and gravel, letting the Corolla change its attitude depending on how you're driving. Toyota also added a secondary air intake duct for more optimal cooling during sustained hard runs, because this car was meant to be driven like a problem, not a commute. Inside, it stays purpose-built. Sport seats with available premium trim materials, Toyota's audio multimedia system, and on Premium Plus, you can get the enhanced 9-speaker GBL system with a subwoofer, plus active sound control that pipes performance audio cues through the cabin when you're on throttle. Starting MSRP, $39,920 to $47,965. That was grip first speed. The next car is control first speed, and it's about to prove that front wheel drive can be seriously disrespectful. Number 8. 2026 Honda Civic Type R. The Civic Type R has never been about subtlety. It's about extracting maximum speed from discipline, not brute force. For 2026, Honda's most focused front-wheel drive machine stays loyal to that philosophy, refining what already worked instead of rewriting a formula. Power comes from a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder producing 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, sent exclusively to the front wheels through a 6-speed manual transmission. Launch it with intent, and the Type R consistently hits 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.9 seconds, a figure that still feels unreal for a front-drive hatchback. The magic isn't just acceleration, it's control. A mechanical limited-slip differential, dual-axis front suspension, and aggressive chassis tuning allow the Type R to apply power without corruption through the steering wheel. turn-in is immediate, mid-corner grip is relentless, and the car rewards commitment rather than masking mistakes. It feels engineered to attack corners repeatedly, not just impress once. Inside, everything points back to the driver. Deeply bolstered seats, a digital cluster with shift lights, and a stripped-down, performance-first layout reinforce the car's purpose. It's not luxurious, and it doesn't pretend to be, but it delivers speed with honesty and precision that few cars at this price can match. Starting MSRP, approximately $45,000. If you're into this kind of real performance talk, not just fast, but why it's fast, consider subscribing, because the next hatch flips the formula. All-wheel drive traction, dual clutch snap, and a rear-biased attitude that feels way too serious for a compact. Number 7. 2026 BMW M135 xDrive. This isn't a regular hatch with a body kit. The M135 xDrive is BMW taking a compact shape and loading it with traction-first violence. The heart is a 2-liter M twin-power turbo 4, making 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet, paired to a 7-speed dual clutch that fires shifts tight enough to feel like a punch cut between gears. BMW quotes 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.9 seconds, which is why the real-world conversation lands right around that 4.8 second 0 to 60 zone when it hooks. Where it earns its spot is how it puts power down. xDrive isn't just all-wheel drive for rain. It can send torque rearward in milliseconds, and it's backed by a mechanical limited-slip differential built into the transmission to stop the front axle from turning into a smoke machine. Add the adaptive M suspension that drops the car up to 8 millimeters plus sport steering, and the M135 starts behaving like a hot hatch that bites on corner exit instead of just hanging on. Inside, it's modern BMW. A driver-angled digital cockpit, M-specific drive modes, and a cabin that feels more like a compact Grand Tourer than a stripped track special. Fast, quiet, and always ready to snap into aggression. Availability: sold in markets that get BMW 1 Series, including Europe and UK. Not offered in the United States. Starting MSRP, €56,200. If you thought that was quick, wait until you feel what's next. The next hatch doesn't just grip, it can move torque side to side in the rear, so it rotates out of corners like it's being steered from the back. Number 6. 2026 Mercedes-AMG A35 4MATIC. This is the entry AMG that doesn't feel entry-level once you're moving. The A35's personality is built around traction-first acceleration, not theatrics. Under the hood is AMG's turbo 2-liter inline-4 pushing about 302 horsepower and 295 pound-feet, routed through an 8-speed automatic and 4MATIC all-wheel drive. Officially, it's a 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds car, which is why it lands around 4.6 seconds to 60 miles per hour in real talk. And AMG's own approach is different here. Evo notes the engine mapping favors keeping power up high, so the A35 rewards you more when you let it run toward the top of the tack instead of short shifting. Driven hard, it's grown up fast. Adaptive dampers are standard, and the chassis is tuned to stay composed while the all-wheel drive system gives it that hang-on, point-and-fire confidence. Quick ground coverage without the car feeling twitchy or messy. Inside, it's pure Mercedes. The full-width dual-screen MBUX setup, ambient lighting, and AMG's busy steering wheel controls make it feel like a mini command center, not just another hot hatch. Availability: sold in UK and Europe, not offered new in the United States. UK price from €47,610. If the A32 felt like a mini command center, the next car feels like a guided system. It's got a smart rear differential setup that makes corner exits feel unfair. Number 5. 2026 Audi S3 Sportback. Clean, tight, and quietly brutal. The S3 Sportback is Audi's specialty, the kind of hatch that looks polished until you pin it and realize it's built around traction. The turbo 2-liter is rated at 328 horsepower and 295 pound-feet, paired with a 7-speed dual clutch and quattro. Audi quotes 0 to 60 miles per hour in the mid-4s. This is why it lives around 4.4 seconds in most rankings. And Car and Driver has even recorded 4.2 seconds in testing for the US spec. For the US spec S3 sedan with this drivetrain. Here's the Audi-specific part, the torque splitter. It can vary torque between the rear wheels, not just front to rear, which means the S3 can actually help rotate on a corner exit instead of pushing wide like a typical all-wheel drive compact. In Dynamic Plus, it sharpens that behavior. And with the available S Sport package, you can add adaptive dampers, plus the more aggressive setup and details like red calipers, so the car stays composed when you start stacking fast corners back to back. Inside, it's performance tech without chaos. Digital gauges, performance pages, and a cabin that stays calm, even when the road isn't. Availability. The Sportback 5-door is sold in UK, Europe. The S3 is offered as a sedan. Starting MSRP in the US, $52,000. In the UK, €49,495. If you're still watching, you're my people. Now talk to me. Which car here is the best performance per dollar? And which one feels like you're paying for a badge? Drop your take. Number 4. 2026 Volkswagen Golf R. This is the hatchback that wins by being surgical. Small footprint, big punch, zero wasted motion. The 2026 Golf R keeps its 328 horsepower turbocharged 2-liter and pairs it with a 7-speed DSG and R Performance 4-motion all-wheel drive. So launches feel like the car gets yanked forward by a cable instead of building speed. In car and drive testing, the Golf R has hit 60 miles per hour in 4.1 seconds, which is why it's the benchmark when people argue about fastest real-world hot hatch. The Golf R's party trick isn't just grip, it's what happens after you turn in. The rear differential can actively send torque side to side across the rear axle, which helps the car rotate and fire out of corners with a rear-driven attitude instead of pushing wide. That same hardware unlocks drift mode, and available adaptive dampers with multiple settings let you go from tight and aggressive to surprisingly compliant without changing the car's personality. Inside, it's tech-forward without feeling delicate. The 12.9-inch touchscreen sits at the center, while R-specific screens feed you drive mode and performance info without burying you in menus. The seating position is low and locked in for a hatch, and the cabin stays solid and quiet at highway speed. So the contrast hits harder when you switch modes and the car tightens up. Little details like heated sport seats and modern driver assists make it easy to live with, even if you drive it like you paid for the whole tachometer. Starting MSRP in the US, $49,455. That was the car you can daily and still hurt feelings. The next one is the car that hurts feelings without even making a sound. Number 3. 2026 MG4 XPower. This is the forbidden fruit hot hatch, an EV that doesn't build speed, it teleports. The MG4 XPower uses a dual-motor all-wheel drive setup, making 429 horsepower, 443 pound-feet, backed by a 64 kilowatt-hour pack. MG quotes 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.8 seconds, which is why it lives in that high 3s to 3.8 second conversation when people translate it to 0 to 60 miles per hour. But the XPower isn't just straight-line shock. MG bakes in rapid launch control and track mode functions so you can actually monitor what the car's doing when the torque hits like a hammer. The whole vibe is value ambush. Quiet exterior, violent exits, and acceleration that makes fast gas hatchbacks feel like they're waiting for a boost. Inside, it leans surprisingly premium for the money. Alcantara-style suede seating, a floating control panel, and smartphone-friendly infotainment with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Track mode also turns the cabin into a little data hub, power delivery, throttle response, even G-force readouts. So it feels like you're driving a hot hatch with a built-in pit wall. Not sold in the United States. MG currently has no US lineup. UK price, €36,745. If that was enough speed for you, I respect it. Now let's get reasonable, because the next one is the soundtrack king, and the final one is the one that rewrites what a hatch can do to your chest. Number 2, 2026 Audi RS3 Sportback. This is the hatch that wins hearts with a 5-cylinder, a layout so rare now it feels like a flex all by itself. The 2026 RS3 runs Audi's turbo 2.5-liter inline 5 with 395 horsepower and 369 pound-feet, paired to a 7-speed S-Tronic and Quattro. Audi quotes 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.6 seconds. And the car's personality matches the number. Boost hits hard. The shifts snap and the engine's offbeat rhythm gives it a soundtrack you don't confuse with any other 4-cylinder hatchback. The RS3's real cheat code is the RS torque splitter on the rear axle. Instead of simply adding grip, it can actively send more torque to an individual rear wheel, helping the car rotate on exit like it's being steered from the back. That's why it feels so unnatural in the best way. Point it in, get back on the throttle early, and it tightens its line instead of washing wide. Big brakes and performance-tuned damping keep it consistent when you stack pulls and corners back to back, not just once for a hero run. Inside, it's a proper tech cockpit, 12.3-inch virtual cockpit plus with RS displays, a 10.1-inch MMI touchscreen, available head-up display, and standard Sonos 3D audio on UK spec. Daily comfort with track-minded data. Not sold as a Sportback in the US. Your closest match is the RS3 sedan. UK price from €62,400. You're at the finish line, and the final car is the one I'd bet on. Not just because it's fast, but because it has the tools to stay fast when you keep asking for more. Let's end this right. Number 1, 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 5N. No more warm-ups, this is the payoff. The Ioniq 5N doesn't feel quick for an EV. It feels like a performance car that just happens to run on electrons. Car and driver clocked 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. And that number hits your chest the moment the car hooks and goes. Power is the headline. 601 horsepower most of the time, then up to 641 horsepower when you trigger N-Grin boost. But what makes it deadly is how controlled the launch feels. Straight, clean, repeatable. This is where it wins the whole list. Hyundai engineered emotion. An E-Shift gives you simulated gear punches from the paddles, so acceleration comes in hard steps instead of one endless surge. And the car's modes are built for real use. Sprint for max output, endurance for keeping performance consistent, plus drift capability when you want the car to move from the rear. For 2026, it even switches to a Tesla-style NACS port. includes adapters, and adds 10 stages of drift optimizer because they expect you to drive it like you mean it. Inside, it backs up the mission. Aggressively bolstered front seats, an N steering wheel packed with shortcut buttons, including N-Grin boost, and dual 12.3-inch screens for gauges and infotainment. Pure driver control, not clutter. MSRP US $68,000. If you made it to the end, you're a real one. Hit subscribe. The next list is even meaner. Thanks for watching.